Hey guys, Danny Johnson here, and today we're looking at this Milwaukee Sawzall reciprocating saw. This is model number 2821-20. So make sure you read through the manual. It's your responsibility to know everything about this. I'm just kind of talking about the general use of this. There's a lot of safety things that you want to go through. You want to understand the different ways to cut, where you want the blade, where you don't want the blade. The plunge cutting, it gives examples of a lot of things in the travel of the blade. So check the video description. I'll have the link for this in there, and it's absolutely free to access. They want to make sure that you have it. Make sure you're always wearing eye protection, gloves, any personal protective equipment that you can. It's going to be well worth it in the end. You'll notice throughout this video, there's a lot of times that the battery is not installed. That's the best thing you can do whenever you're working with the blade. Okay, we have this locked as well for the trigger. And just keep in mind, the blade can get hot enough to burn you. So if you're using it, you want to make sure that you're well aware of all of that and be as safe as you can with it. Whenever you're transporting this, make sure that the blade isn't in it, that the battery is not on it, and that you're using these protectors. This is 2821-20 is the part number. The fuel one they claim is fastest cutting in class, most durable, and lightest. So you wonder who they're comparing against, since one's yellow and one's green. It's obvious it's Milwaukee versus DeWalt versus probably Makita. And so they're going to show how fast it cuts here and say that it's going to be faster if they're equally weighted. The durability and also the weight. So should be a pretty nice one. I have up here a DeWalt XR, and I had used the non-XR for quite a while, and they're both good saws, so I think they're all going to be good equipment. And so it claims to have this Red Link Plus. It's an intelligence. I believe it keeps it from burning up. So that might be nice if you're overheating it. Okay, here it is coming out of the package. Okay, my first impression is that it's nice and thick, very well insulated compared to the DeWalt one. So that'll be nicer to use because you got to go easy on your hands, even with gloves, insulated gloves, and some things like that. You have your lock over here on this side. So it's locked, unlocked. Okay, so this has what they call a rafter hook. So this is kind of what you hook onto either your belt or somewhere to hang it while you're not using it. So it's nice that it has that sturdy piece to it. So on both sides here, there's a button. You push them both at the same time, and it's the shoe release. So as you push this, notice how this can be adjusted in or out. So that helps you with the blade length. To have more or less blade exposed. So you can see where it says max here. So that's the maximum amount that you would want to have extended. After that, it would be basically coming all the way out. So that's a pretty cool feature. Now you'll notice it has an LED light here in the nose, and we'll demonstrate that later when we have a battery. Right now that we're handling this with the blade, we're not doing anything with the battery installed at this point. Okay, so with the nose here, what you would do is take your blade and you would stick it into the nose of it right here, and you'll notice it goes in, but in order to fully seat it, you'll lift up on this lever. Then the blade slides in, and you can release it. And it says go ahead and give it a little tug. Now keep in mind, when you're using this, the blade can get very hot. So when it's time to discard or change the blade, you want to make sure that you know that that blade can be very hot. So the way that you would is lift up on this tab, and then you can slide the blade out. Okay, so this is just kind of like a spring-loaded release. So that's how that works. And it is only on one side. But this has a really good solid feel to it. I like that thick rubbery stock here that they have. Okay, there's no blade in it right now, but I'm just demonstrating here how you would take the M18 battery, slide it right on. Okay, so that's what it looks like installed, and we can see that really nice LED. That's bright and in a good spot there. So you can see how far that comes out. So this does have what's called a variable speed trigger. So the more you pull on it, the faster it goes, and you can kind of get the feel for it here. Okay. So that's why you would want to push again here and here on the shoe release to adjust the length of this shoe. If you have a smaller blade or a longer blade, and again, it can come all the way out, so you want to watch that maximum to make sure that you don't have it too far out. It's got to be at least in that far where that lines up. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove the battery, pull the trigger, make sure we're good. I'm going to go ahead and install this. Give it a little tug. Okay, now we can reinstall our battery. So this kind of gives you an idea. This is on a larger blade, right? So anytime you're adjusting this, you should be doing that without the blade, or at least without the battery in it. So here's what it looks like in motion. Okay. Put the lock on, remove the battery. Okay. So notice how we could move this in. If we move that all the way in, that's going to be pretty close to the shoe. So the shoe is intended to be against the surface that you're cutting. Now note on some of these blades, like this one, it has a little piece here that's left in it. So you want to make sure that you get that out. And then those can stay stuck in there, and they're meant to hold everything in place while it's being sold. So make sure we get that out before you try to get it installed. There we go, see that? Okay, no battery installed again. I'm going to show you what this kind of looks like here. Here's the blade coming in from the front. So we're going to line it up. And notice it goes in, but until we push on this release, now it fully seats. Okay, now this is a good example because you can see why you might want to have this extended. You wouldn't want it out too far. You might want to bring the shoe back though, because as an example, when you're cutting on something, it should never look like this. The blade should be longer. It should look more like that from what you're cutting. So you want to be up against the shoe, and then the blade should be longer as it oscillates back and forth. So if you were doing it like this, the problem is when that blade comes back, then it's gonna bind up. It should be like this where it's cutting all the way through it. Okay, and so that's why you have the shoe here that it's up against as you're cutting. That's gonna keep it nice and steady. Now I'm gonna include a link in the description for the manual. It's free and available. They want to make sure that you have it, and so it's a nice digital copy. Another technique they talk about is plunge cutting. So let's imagine that this is like a floor tile where you can't really come in from the side, and you do have to cut this way. Okay, so there are ways to plunge cut where you'd be cutting in this way. Now what you can also do is, and again, there's no battery in this right now or anything, you can insert this blade upside down, and you can use the tool upside down like that as you plunge cut. Okay, so notice that we're kind of upside down with the tool. It can be used that way. So plunge cutting would be something like this where you're cutting into it because you don't have access from the side. Now you do want to be very careful with this because that forward in and out motion can really just knock you right off course. So as an example here, we're gonna turn this around. Okay, we're locked back in, but there's so much force in this that if you don't have this clamped down, as soon as you go to use it back and forth, it'll shoot this out. So you want this very, very firm. But let's imagine that this was clamped in place very strong. Now you can see the difference of why this shoe, you'd want to pinch on both sides and maybe bring that shoe out a little bit. Okay. So that would look a lot better like that. So notice we're still not really at our max. We could even come out a little bit more, but this is what you would want to see. You want the blade to pass what you're cutting so it goes back and forth like this and it doesn't catch on the nose and snap the blade or jerk it or cause any problems. So that's what it would look like. You could probably even come out maybe just a little bit more on this. Take it right to that max line. And that might look a little bit better. So I'm gonna hook the battery back up right now. And what I wanna show you, is notice I'm doing this above the wood, but notice how with the lock off, okay, so see, this is the minimum that it's going out, or the farthest back, and that's probably about the farthest out. So you want to make sure that that's what it's doing. You don't want to be where it's doing this, because the nose of it will get caught on that wood. Okay, so you would want it something like this as you're cutting through on it. Okay, so always make sure that you have gloves on, and the blade will cut through these. These are only a cut level 1, so it'll go right through these. Never think that your gloves are gonna stop a blade like this. So again, anytime this is not being used, you want the lock on right here, and you should take the battery out. Okay. So it's also best to store this without the blade. That way you don't have any problems. Okay, so now I'm going to demonstrate. Imagine if you're trying to do it this way, right? You can imagine what it could do to that wood. It could just push it, get stuck and bound out. Okay, so you would want to make sure you're always up against the shoe, that this is securely mounted into a jig, and that it has plenty of room before and after on its full motion to cut all the way through. And this shoe, it is firm, but it does move up and down for the angle that you're cutting on. So as an example, you can just see how this shoe can pivot as it was stuck, but that blade that would have to be the minimum length there. You'd want it to go out more so that it's never stuck in something like this as it's going up and down. Now, if you look at these blades, they're all a little different. And so you have what's called TPI, or teeth per inch. It counts how many teeth there are in 1 inch. And what you find is the larger gaps like this are better for wood. See, this is a wood one, but it can still have some nails in it. Look at how many more teeth there are on this one. So this is for thick metal. Okay. Then this is kind of a combination. It'll do a little bit of both. Metals, also nails, you know, embedded wood. So don't just grab any of these blades. There are differences between them as you see this. So check the video description. I have some more information on that. Now, by comparison, here's my DeWalt one. This feels really small compared to the Milwaukee one. You can see the size difference here. They're quite a bit different. What I did notice about the DeWalt one is in the front, it has its lever here on the side to unlock it, but notice in the nose, you can run these blades either this way, and then like the Milwaukee one, inverted is fine. But if you look at the top here, this one also allows you to run it from side to side. So that's kind of an interesting feature that I don't see on the Milwaukee one. And maybe they just really want you using that shoe properly. So that could be the reason why. But, you know, just looking at this one, definitely a little bit smaller. Still has, you know, a nice feel to it. But nowhere near as, you know, thick and heavy as this Milwaukee one. So I think this is a lot nicer one, but obviously not as compact. And, you know, they're different models, so you can't compare them 100% side by side. You can see the size difference here. I mean, there is a huge difference between these two. So this one, as you can see, that shoe looks pretty fixed. You may be able to take it off and replace it with a different one, but it doesn't look like it's intended to retract or go out anymore. Now this also does have a light in it, and it has it down in the trough there. So I don't know which would be better, to be shining the light from below or above. And again, this one can be used, you know, sideways or inverted, so either way. But they're pretty similar in a lot of ways. I'm glad that a lot of the controls are the same. You lock it out here, very similar to this one. So at least when you're using them one from another, you shouldn't be too confused. So thanks for watching. Please check the video description. I have a ton of videos that are similar to this. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. Thanks, guys.